Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a comedy that every nerd who's ever existed should love. So Scott Pilgrim is a nerdy teenager who already has superpowers that don't worry about it. And he meets this girl, Ramona, and she's got pink hair and she's super cool and he's like, I want to date her. So they start dating, and then he finds out he has to defeat her 7 evil exes. And one thing I want to say about this movie is that visually it is probably the most fun a movie can be in the visual sense. For this type of movie, this is the perfect way to shoot the movie. And it's this whole visual style, and it's just a joy to look at. It's got this rich color palette, it's got these little video gamey sounds, and these crazy like close-ups, and it's great. And not just because it's fun to look at, but it's funny because Edgar Wright, the director, is a master of visual comedy. And Cera as Scott Pilgrim is great. He's the right amount of nervous, yet you can always get angry when he needs to get angry. He's just great. And he really embraces that weird kid that Scott Pilgrim should be. And he's just like, hey, and he just does all these weird things. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona. She's really the heart of the movie, even though she's this monotone goth chick. And I think the fact that she was able to pull off being monotone and depressed the whole movie and still manage to be that emotional core that we need is very impressive. And all of the 7 evil exes, they're all great performances and great villains and great foils to Scott Pilgrim. And the way the story flows, like they just happen upon all these evil exes, and it's just, everything just plays so naturally. There are times when things happen suddenly, but it works because it just, for some reason, I have no idea, but for some reason it just works. And the movie's not necessarily so much funny. It is funny, but it's not so much funny as it is just an engaging story. It's very much a love story that just happens to have lots of crazy video gamey type action and nerds. And the fact all these characters have these morally complex motivations, but we're still able to know who the heroes and the villains are, is very strong. My only real problem with the movie is it's very little, but it's just a little bit style over substance. I wanted one more emotional scene. I just needed like one more scene to get me really, really involved in the story, and I just didn't quite have that. That being said, this is a visual joy, it's a fun story that you can totally get involved in, and it's just so much fun. Especially if you're a nerd. I'm gonna give Scott Pilgrim vs. the World an A.
I'm gonna give Scott Pilgrim vs. the World an A-.